Hello, everyone. Today, on an Independence Day special dialogue, we'll be talking about building a developed India, Vikshit Bharat 2047, through indigenous technology, green transition, and Atmanirbhar defense. As India's digital footprint expands, so does the question of what independence means in a connected world, from cybercrime and data protection to AI regulation and national security. The lines between technology, law, and sovereignty are increasingly converging. To explore this evolving idea of digital independence and what it means for India's journey towards Vikshit Bharat 2047, we are joined by Dr. Karnika A, a leading cyber law expert, advocate, and technology policy specialist. Her work spans cyber law, cybersecurity, data protection, AI governance, and national security. Dr. Said, it's a pleasure to have you join us today, and thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to having this dialogue with you.
Thank you so much. It is indeed a pleasure to be at the mainstream for this very important occasion. We are celebrating the Independence Day. And what more can we, send across as a message for Viksit Bharat more than cyber empowerment, which is actually the main, I would say, focus point of
Yeah.
our entire roadmap for the 2047 plan for India.
Absolutely, absolutely. It'll be very interesting, as we often speak about independence as something India achieved in 1947, but the meaning of independence has continuously evolved. Today, when our money, identities, communication, and access to essential services increasingly depend on digital systems, does being an independent nation, Dr. Kaniga, also means being digitally independent? And what should that independence mean for India?
Very rightly put. I think this digital independence, when we say digital independence, it means empowering every citizen of India,
Mm.
not only in terms of e-governance, what we are seeing as benefits, whether it is healthcare, social welfare benefits, or even financial payments. You can
Yeah.
see how more than 53 crore users for UPI payments in India, and how more than 100 crores for Aadhaar users, right? So this is a leapfrog. What we've done in India as a success story is being replicated across the world.
Yeah.
And certainly I say with great pride, being an Indian, that our technologies and our the pace at which we've made our roadmap and the strides we are making set up a global footprint. It's not just within India, but what digital empowerment is doing in all spheres and walks of our life and all facets, be it communication, education, healthcare, is something for the world to see and adopt and
Yeah.
imbibe in their systems. So yes, I agree to that, on that note, that digital India and digital empowerment for Viksit Bharat means that we use technology for the benefit of our citizens and for the benefit of our country and to set example for the world.
Absolutely. And also, India is uniquely complex from a digital society perspective. One of the world's largest democracies with enormous diversity in language, geography, and digital literacy, and millions of people coming online every year. Does this scale fundamentally change the way India needs to think about cybersecurity and digital resilience?
Yes, I think the digital awareness and the cyber safety, especially and cyber hygiene practices, they need to be, spread across in various local languages. We have urban, landscape, like we have urban people here in cities, metropolitan cities, and we have a lot of people in villages who have, access to only local language and their
Yeah.
needs are different. So, and in today's times, when we're talking about data protection and, how the new paradigm shift with data will be, they have to know what are the pitfalls. We've seen the number of cyber crimes which have percolated in this space, and especially digital arrest being a huge
Yes.
problem today. So while on one hand we are trying to make the best use of technology to bring them better access to justice delivery through e-courts and other means, we are also giving them, empowering them to make financial payments. Every vendor has a QR code now for receiving payments, which is so heartening to see see here and how businesses are thriving with digital payment systems being successful. On the other hand, we also have issues like, lack of awareness and
Yeah.
cyber safety practices, which we need to spread across to various, villages and everywhere, in fact, demographies in India. And for that reason, I think that's a critical challenge could be the broadband availability, phone network availability. While those are technical challenges, there are also social challenges, and there are also linguistic challenges.
Yes.
And at the same time, I think the knowledge, how many people will be available to empower other people who know what is to be taught. So that
Right.
is something that, we are working on, and we are very strongly working on all this on Viksit Bharat roadmap. And, Ministry of Home is working on it. Ministry of Law works on such plans. At the Defense Ministry, we have other, ways in which we are trying to step up our systems and strengthen our ecosystems, to for the benefit of citizens of India. So I think I do agree that digital empowerment will not just be a one prong exercise, but a multi prong, a sort of
Yeah.
like the spokes of a wheel. We need different aspects to come together to make the final, ecosystem strong.
Right, right, absolutely. And India has built digital public infrastructure at remarkable scale, while
Mm.
also putting and pushing, for indigenous technology and stronger cyber capabilities. When we talk about cyber independence, is it enough to own the technology, or does the true independence also require control over critical infrastructure, protection of data, strong institutions, skilled talent, and the ability to respond, when infrastructure is attacked?
Agreed. So when I said in my last answer that, one has to have whole ecosystem and it is built on various pillars, like a building is built on various pillars. So when we're trying to create a strong, system which has a very robust cyber ecosystem, it definitely means many aspects coming together. One of them is certainly the Digital India campaign that we are already running to say bring in more manufacturing within India, be it hardware or technology. We are working very aggressively on the AI. The India AI mission is working on that as well. Whether it's agriculture, it's healthcare, or it's bringing smart cities, we are trying to work on all fronts, to bring up the infrastructure aspect. When it comes to, say, cloud infrastructure or data, how resources or data has to be managed, we also promote having more of, accountability and data centered in India in many ways, and therefore the sovereignty of data.
Yeah,
How we can keep data within India, especially the critical data, which is healthcare or it is financial data as per RBI norms. A lot of
right.
steps and measures are being taken in that account. The other aspects being how to report cybercrime. But it is
Yeah,
important to have correct, immediate reporting, making citizens aware that this is where, for example, National Cybercrime Helpline 1930 or cybercrime.gov.in, where zero FIRs could be made, even anonymously. One
right,
can report cybercrime, and many financial frauds are reversed. Many, cyber crimes are prevented, and even, say, mitigated to a great extent, and enforcement is possible. So on those accounts also, we need to step up, make our ecosystem stronger. Then as far as courts are concerned, we're already working a lot on, strengthening the access to justice system through courts and bringing technology in, expediting hearings, and, making immediate fast track courts, technology enabled hearings being conducted. And so
right.
technology has really helped in this sphere as well. And the courts are very aggressively, I would say proactively, maintaining security and emphasizing on right of privacy being maintained,
Yes.
the right to be forgotten, being enforced in India. And
Yeah.
these are very good signs. Dynamic injunction orders being given for takedown of, for example, this child pornography related or CSAM related, content, which is definitely something that our country really, has been very, I would say, enforcing this in a very clear way that this has to be, there's no compromise. This has to be taken down. And there's a
Right.
very tight timeline of 2 hours, which is there
Yeah.
now,
Right.
cost in India. So these are the ways in which we've stepped up our laws. We have a new criminal justice system. We have the BNS law, BSA, which is for the evidence, and BNSS for the criminal procedure. So everything, with be it laws, the infrastructure, courts, technology, we're all, congregating everything and trying to seamlessly bring this change. It's not a one-day change, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
strengthening our training, resources, for example, trainings we often render trainings to judicial academies, to police officers, IS officers, government officers. Now, all this I've been involved, right? Like it's been 25 years. So you can
Yeah,
imagine structured trainings are also going hand in hand. So all this is really bringing a massive change. And obviously the Aadhaar and UPI and other infrastructures, FASTag, we have created so many, examples of success in India.
right,
We're
right,
just looking up
absolutely.
to us. Yeah.
Do you see, while there's so much of, policies that are coming up to in the national interest, of course, policy frameworks that can protect citizens, do you think that will hold back innovation in India?
No, I strongly in favor of, and I advocate that there should be regulation only where it is necessary, right?
Right,
So we want our country to thrive in technology, and at this point of time, AI is being leveraged in a big way in various means. But at the same time, I was of the view always that we should have regulation where it's necessary, and to that end, during the G20 summit, I created voluntarily proposed AI law for India, and I often during my roundtables with the honorable ministers for IT, I think Shri Chandrasekhar ji, I had directly voiced this concern that we will have to at least regulate the high risk systems. And just
right,
recently, we had the Secretary IT statement also, Shri Krishnan ji, also saying that that the government is now contemplating that there will be soon a proposed AI law for India. And I'm quite hopeful that template which I created could serve the nation during the formation of this proposed AI law. I
yeah,
think I had used the model of European Union also, because the European Union has now enforced the AI law. There are countries like South Korea who also enforce the law. So in a pyramid-based structure, like have a three-prong sort of a structure where high-risk systems need to be regulated. Certain uses which are dangerous for public, data, for example, profiling of citizens in a way which is not going to be, something which could be detrimental to them. That's something which will fall under prohibited systems. There could be certain medium risk areas which will require a license, and the lowest is low risk, where there could be just minimized sort of a regulation. But we will
right.
need something, and therefore, separate law for AI is not something, now it's very, very near to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll happen soon. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, with all this, there's also a larger question about responsibility. The government can definitely build policies and institutions. Businesses can invest in security and technology. Companies can build safer systems. Where does that responsibility of individual citizen begin in creating a cyber resilient India?
I think whenever they create any hardware or software or any technology, they have to imbibe ethical use of technology as a principle, as a
Yeah,
foundational principle. I remember the days when we would talk about, security by design. Then we started talking about privacy by design. And now
yeah,
we're talking about AI ethical practices by design. So while I've also had conversations with data scientists, at one of the Stanford universities, meetings in say Pune, I know when we've interacted with various stakeholders like create this technology, we have emphasized always that there have to be ethical practices of accountability, transparency. There shouldn't be a black box syndrome, and there has to be inclusiveness. There has to be
right.
sustainable development as a basic foundation, because it shouldn't be a detriment to the environment.
Right.
The data centers are creating so much heat now, right?
Yeah,
All this has got an implication on the environment. So we have to, as a citizen, not only as a citizen, but as a human being, on this mother earth, we have to be very careful of what we are creating, what our actions are leading us to. So,
yeah,
these are certain principles where there could be any compromise. And I think you take up any international organization, be it UNESCO or UNICEF or any other UN body or any other, I would say, association which is talking about, these issues on a world stage, they
yeah,
would definitely imbibe these in one way or the other,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they will all be talking about our responsibility, not only to our nation, but also to the world. How
Yeah.
we will ensure that while we make the best use of technology, we're also mindful of the consequences it will lead to and how it will be utilized. And
Right.
while we're building this whole thing, we are also, doing away with inherent bias. There has to be
Mm.
fairness. There has to be justice. All
Yeah.
this become like basic foundations of creation of that technology by design. While we're
Right.
using platforms, like we use social media platform, for instance, today, they
Yeah.
also have to inculcate the AI algorithms, and algorithms have to be sensitively put or
Right.
utilized to
Mm.
ensure all these foundational principles are duly respected. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. What else can we do in terms of public awareness about, the whole deep fakes, cyber threats that are increasing, to every human today?
Yes, very interesting question indeed, because I think there is nobody on this, planet today, it seems, that would not be using technology to a great degree. I
Yeah.
would say that one may not afford a particular, luxury or a item, but they would have a phone, a basic
Yeah.
phone at least, right?
Yeah.
So I'm of this view that, whether it is children who are in schools
Yeah.
or there are youth of today, be it any industry body or industry member, and senior citizens, professionals, government officers,
Right.
judicial officers, police officers. It's every stakeholder, manufacturer of technology, service provider of technology. Everyone needs to have this knowledge, right? So
Yeah.
we can combat the cyber crimes which are rising today in a
Right.
very effective manner. Because where do the challenges happen? They happen at the technical front, for example.
Yeah.
We know we can make use of technology to protect our identities through VPNs. We are using a lot of them, but
Yeah.
there are also criminals who are using the same, right?
Right.
So that is the catch. That is the anonymity of cyberspace, which is also posing a challenge. And on the other hand, cooperation from international authorities. For example, there are most of these crimes, even the trafficking crimes or children-related,
Yeah.
CSAM crimes are happening
Yeah.
trans-border. So how much cooperation we are getting from the, external sources or the
Right.
foreign companies or bodies? That is
Right.
another challenge. Platform accountability of social media giants who often have
Yeah.
servers abroad. They
Yeah.
keeping data abroad. That's again a challenge. So
Yeah.
therefore, I think this needs a congregated effort. Even credit card companies, they help in giving out data to law enforcement bodies in order to
Yeah.
track from where a particular, say, a CSAM is bought, a crime
Yeah.
clip is brought. So takedown notices are sometimes helpful to remove content, to say take down the illegal content from different platforms. So these
Right.
are definitely areas which will require sensitization and strengthening. So while our laws are being strengthened, courts are being strengthened, we still have lacunas. Like I said, international cooperation mechanisms to be strengthened. Our MLA treaties or our mutual assistance treaties and the letter rogatory system is far too slow. We don't have
Right.
a cybercrime convention in India. We haven't signed one. So
Right.
these are areas which we really need to work more on.
Right.
In the Viksit Bharat, I think we envisage that we will be able to tackle some of these issues.
Yes.
Yeah?
Right.
These are some areas which are worth mentioning at this point. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great. I think this has been a very, very interesting conversation, Dr. Kanika. Thank you so much for joining us today on the mainstream for an Independence Day special dialogue. And definitely, I think it is important that we have more and more such dialogues to create Viksit Bharat 2047 as a more resilient Bharat by 2047.
Let's make our India, as our Honorable Prime Minister also says, Atmanirbhar. Being
Yes.
self-reliant is not only a duty of every citizen, every child, every woman, or every person who is, living in India, but
Yeah.
also we can work towards the progress of the nation in a better way when we are more self-reliant
Right.
and cyber empowered. Because
Abs
if we are using this for communications, if we are using it for education or even our businesses to today, our safety is paramount, and the
Yeah.
cyber hygiene, knowledge of cyber hygiene can not only prevent but also effectively combat cybercrime. So, thank you very much for having me on this talk
Yes.
today, and happy Independence Day to all, one and all.
Absolutely.
And I think Jai Hind. Yeah.
Jai Hind. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.